this and they find something that will interest these kids, and they try to teach them something.
That's awesome.
No, I'm not even going to attempt to say his name, so I don't mean to be disrespectful at all. Looking forward to the Unix XM100 5-axis table release at the end of the year, plus or minus. Does anyone know anything about that?
It sounds cool though. 5-axis.
Build an engine block.
Then you can make a wine glass.
Yeah,
because you get that 5th axis to come in around the corner.
Okay,
and go in the end, right?
so be honest. Was that a selfish plug? Do you work for them? If it is, hey, I'm not hating. I'm just asking. How do you know the inside scoop? That's what it says. That's okay.
Hey, let me
We'll
know.
be making a lot. See, I knew it. I knew you work for the manufacturer.
Well, feel free to contact one or more of us to do some reviews.
Here, so look, I'm gonna send you my email so that I can share it collectively with the guys, and then we'll gladly do a review for you if you would like.
So, Chad, yes, I just last night at midnight I dropped a. Sorry, Rick. Last night at midnight I dropped a review for the 48 watt Acmer P3. Clack, and he's probably listening. He's doing one for the dual laser module IR and 10 watt diode, which is also cool. It's got like 4 different laser modules. Certainly feel free to go watch my video, please do. But I would venture to say it's the best diode laser I've tested.
Nice.
Ooh, wow,
That thing is amazing.
that's awesome.
So Steve, I was going to ask you how that compares to like I'm just getting started looking at this the We Create.
Yeah.
And I did the Acmer P2, and I really, out of all of the open frame diodes, the P2 was one of my favorites, and that P3 looks really interesting. So I'm kind of curious how you stack that to some of the other class 1s.
So I was using that exact laser, the one you have beside you there, in my shop as a long-term tester. And it's a nice laser. It's geared more for people who are really just getting started. So if I could kind of create the ideal persona for that laser, for the buyer for that laser, it's somebody. Hey, there's Clack. The ideal persona for someone with a We Create is someone with a lot of money who thinks they might want to use a laser. Because, well, it's not that the We Create is that expensive. I mean, it's competitive. It's expensive, of course. They all are. But typically, people will buy their first laser will be like a $200 open frame, and this thing, the We Create, is so much easier to use, right? And now we had a couple of email exchanges before we came on here, and it was it's the familiar Lightburn versus in that case we were talking about XCS, but Lightburn versus not Lightburn.
Yeah.
And Lightburn, if you're a very experienced person, Lightburn is an amazing tool. But Lightburn was something clearly built by engineers for engineers, right? It's got incredible power, but most people who are, we'll say, quote unquote, normal people don't understand all of the things that Lightburn is telling you, right? Whereas if you look at something like Make It or XCS, they're really designed for people, as politely and politically correctly as possible, are normal, right? They're not tech nerds. So I like the We Create. I would be like Roger. I'd be happy to get rid of it because it's taking up a ton of space in my shop. Now that one I'm not shipping because it weighs a ton.
Oh yeah, they do. They are heavy.
Yeah. So we got a question here. The Acmer P2 has a gritty X-axis. Any advice?
Yeah, bearings.
To help.
Bearings.
It's probably the rollers are flat or something.
Or they get grit in them, or the balls are broken down inside it. You can buy those on Amazon for like super cheap, and a bag full of like 20 of them. And they're all the same. I mean, even all my 3D printers use the same rollers that they use on the lasers.
No, the P3 though is linear rail. It's not rollers. That's I was just looking at mine. It's the linear rails with the pillow blocks.
Yeah.
So that's a little bit more. I'm looking at mine and it's all underneath the gantry, so you'd have to get into there and somehow kind of clean it. But
yeah, so I had a long talk with Gil from Algo Laser when they came out with the Delta, and I said, like, why didn't you use linear rails? And they basically said, well, they don't last in that environment, right? There's just too much crap floating around, and linear rails are such tight tolerance that they get gummed up. Same thing happens in CNCs, right? Which is why if you look at something like a Genmitsu 4040 or 50 or 6060, they have linear rails, but they're completely encased, right?
Yeah, my Reno has them.
Yeah.
No, the Algo somewhere in between. It's rollers, but they've got it kind of closed off in that C channel to kind of keep it a little bit cleaner.
Yeah. Now in the P3, it's a Core XY architecture, which is very cool. Like it's really smooth and it moves very quickly. And they use rods and linear bearing and linear bearings rather.
Hey, Andy, I noticed that I've been seeing a lot on your on Facebook actually. Are you offering some type of courses now on CNCs, or do you? I'm allowed. Go ahead and give a selfless plug.
Yeah, sure.
What's the deal with that? And what would be expected from someone that and before you even start the pitch, what made you start that course?
Well, what made me start it? A lot of iterations. So this is like iteration number 3 of a course of taking someone from the very beginning, from acquiring a CNC all the way to making a income. I pretty much stop it at like a side hustle income, but consistent, like, thousands of dollars. If someone makes $10,000, $20,000, $50,000 a year, that's kind of who it's geared for. So iteration number 1 was just a PDF, and I did that in like 2021, and then maybe 2020. Anyways, three years ago or so, and then about a year later, I made my first course, which was called Turn Your CNC Hobby into a Profitable Side Hustle. And then I did that all on my own. Built it, I wrote the whole course myself, the course curriculum, and then I had a business coach, a YouTube business coach, and I hired him, and I was paying him a lot of money a month. And he said, "Hey, I know somebody that can help you." And I had sold, to give you an idea, I had sold about 200 copies of that first course. So I have a business, basically a business partner now, who he has nothing to do with CNC. He has nothing to do with side hustle or anything like that. And he basically partners with YouTubers in that have a voice in a niche and creates a course with them. So basically we took that first course that I created all myself, wrote a brand new curriculum. It's nine modules long. It's almost 9 hours of content, 60 videos I recorded. I took 4 months to build it.
Wow.
And so the ads, you're seeing the ads.
Yeah.
So that's a good thing.
Yeah.
So I want it to be the cornerstone of my business. And that's what I've designed it for. Like, that's what I talk about on YouTube. And a lot of this stuff, I mean, people ask me, like, Andy, how is it different than your YouTube videos? And I'm like, well, the biggest difference is the format, right? Because on YouTube, I can't do 8 hours of, I could do 8 hours of content. So it's a lot slower paced and more in depth and hands-on tutorials. Like there are 2 projects where from the very beginning, there's a beginner project and an advanced project. It's all about developing a product to sell. So yeah, it's very hands-on, in-depth. Very well produced, very well done. And so currently right now, we opened it. So what we did is in April, we did our first launch of this brand new course. It's called the CNC Side Hustle. You can go to the cncsidehustle.com /special right now because it's a special launch period. But anyways, the cncsidehustle.com, it's its own thing. Like it's its own entity, basically. It has its own place, own members area and everything. But anyways, we launched it in April. We opened it for enrollment for 5 days, and we had 157 students go through the course.
Wow!
And I sat down with them one-on-one. Let me back up one step. We did 5 group. It includes 5 group coaching calls, and they're spaced out every 2 weeks. And I meet with them on a live stream like this, and I talk about a topic that, there's been a lot of questions on and things like that. But then after that, I sat down with 15 of them, all that signed up, one-on-one live stream like this. And I really talked to them about what they got out of the course, what they wanted to see improved. And I was blown away by the feedback. And we have implemented and are continuing to implement feedback and making this thing even better. So we reopened it on Monday, and now it's going to be open perpetually. Like you can buy it whenever. But we have a special launch period going on right now. Shameless plug. Rick gave me the floor. But right now, if you jump in right now, the price is actually going up $400 after the special launch window. And after the launch window, you won't be able to get the lives because it'll just be kind of evergreen and it'll be there on your own. So if anybody's on the fence at all about making money with their CNC router, specifically right now, I get this question a lot. Specifically right now, the projects are CNC router based, but all the sales information, like there's 15 videos on marketing there. All that information is really, you could be selling anything, right? So yeah, that closes Friday. All those perks, and it's been great. It's been I like seriously.
What's the cost?
So $497 is the price.
Okay.
And we offer a payment plan as well. We try to make it accessible to as many people as possible. And then, of course, if anybody jumps in and it's not for them, we offer a 30-day, no questions asked guarantee. So,
is there any different type of level of CNC they would need? Like, hey, you're honest with someone, like that CNC is just not going to work. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. So we've had all ranges in the first 157 students. I would say about 10% of people didn't even have a CNC yet.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And I actually think that's perfect because I walk through all the considerations, recommendations, what to look for, what not to buy. So you technically don't have to even have a CNC for the course to be beneficial. But yeah, that's I think in a nutshell.
So what they pay for the course, they see all this material. Is there a timeline that they can only log in, or they can always like go back as a refresher? Like, hey, I know this was mentioned, but I don't remember. Can they log in anytime, rewatch it?
Anytime. Yeah. One purchase, it is completely open. If we do any updates, which we have some updates coming, like they have access to those. I say lifetime access. I said that to somebody. He said, all right, I'm going to log in when I'm 99. I was like, okay. But yeah. So again, people that know me, that I've, have, I guess, followed Andy Bird builds for the last 3 or 4 years. They know, like I've been told that they can tell that one of the things I'm most passionate about is helping people, that want to make money. If you just want CNC to be a hobby, that's completely fine. But if you want to make money Like I'm all in on it, and I guess there's weird passions in life, but I love when people see success and reach their goals. So I'm extremely passionate about it, and I'm guilty of I can't do the work for people, right. But I want to, so it's all, I'm all in on this course. It's not a just throw it up and forget it thing. It's really what it's spend a lot of my time doing. So
it's the guy with the laser. He says, everyone in the field knows you, Andy. That smiling face always shows up in our news feed.
Hey, that's good. That's a good thing. I appreciate it.
So is the goal of the course ultimately to get into volume production or something?
As far as what, like a student going through it?
Well, yeah, like what's the end goal of the course? You get into volume production and you're turning out dozens of wooden ashtrays or something.
Yeah.
So, no, great question. So my approach is one size does not fit all. And it all depends. Like I teach, we need to focus on the goals, right? Like what your goals are. And then I typically, I push people in certain directions based on their goals. Like it doesn't make sense if it's a side hustle. Again, that's what we're talking about. It can turn into something more. But if it's a side hustle and you're just doing it for fun, like it's important to keep it fun, right? Yeah, because you already have a day job. And so the last thing I'm going to tell is someone that just wants to, hey, like I just want to make enough money to pay for my family's Christmas, or I just want to make enough money to pay for a vacation. Like I'm not going to be like, hey, you need to go into wholesale and make 1,000 of these units, because they're going to hate that. I mean, maybe they'll like it, but most likely they're going to hate that.
Yeah, that's why I asked. Yeah. And I kind of forgot that you're targeting people with side hustles. Yeah. Like for me, I have lots of customers. Well, not lots. I have a handful of really good customers who come to me to get stuff made. I'm like the outsourcer, right? Like they just come, can you make this for me? They go home and finish it or do whatever they do, right? And every once in a while I'll be on Instagram and I'll say, hey, I recognize that thing. I cut that out. I get no credit, of course, but it's very lucrative actually, because I mean, as you know, like if you have an Avid, right, you have a CNC that's worth $5,000-$6,000, people aren't going to buy one of those, right? And a lot of the things I do are too big for a the typical CNC that they would buy some Genmitsu model, right? And so that's how I make most of the money in my shop comes from that kind of business.
Nice.
And rather than lasers. Lasers is really a side passion for me, only because I worked in industrial lasers as a early career.
Nice.
But CNC is where I have the most fun and certainly make the most money.
Yeah. Do you find like this? And I get this. There's no right or wrong answer. Do you find making those one-off projects, or one-off, someone comes to you and wants something, made, do you find that enjoyable, like yourself?
Yeah. Like this chessboard I showed you earlier, right? I mean, it's now granted, making 16 pawns that are all the same is a bit drudgerous, but but it's the one and only of these I'll ever make, and the next one will be a different model or different wood or different something, right? And that's more likely to get me up in the morning than saying, oh, I've got to make 10,000, whatever's coasters. So I have a real pet peeve with coasters, but and I know lots of people who go, no, I make all kinds of money on coasters. Yeah, but it's boring.
Yeah.
Right.
And so it's really interesting. So I think about this way too much. It's that crossroads between, do you need to do something? Like, do you need to make 10,000 coasters to pay your bills? Then if that's the case, then you better make 10,000 coasters.
Exactly.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, well, sure. You ultimately, and you talk about the niche, right?
Things, right?
You ultimately
you need to pay your electric bill.
Yeah, you ultimately make what pays the bills, right? But at the same time, it's just you got to have you sell somebody, and again, I'll beat on coasters, but if you sell somebody 4 coasters, they go, oh, this is nice. They put them on their coffee table, and that's the end of it. But if you say to somebody, for a few grand, I can make you a really nice chess set, they look at that like it's a piece of art, right? And all of a sudden they stop being customers and start being partners, and that's much more interesting to me.
So I'll use Roger as an example. Roger doesn't need to go on 15 vacations, but he does, right?
Yeah, and all this stuff pays for it. And I get into volume. I'll pop another picture up here. We build between 600 and 800 of these every year, and
that's awesome.
I don't have any problem doing that. We do a lot, same thing. And Steve doesn't like coasters, but we make good money with them. But we don't do the common slate ones and cork ones. We do the ceramic tile.
Right.
Yeah, so, but you found something unique, right? And that makes the difference, right? But like if you say, oh, I'm going to make cork coasters, and you go search on Etsy, you're going to find like 300 pages of people selling coasters.
But then we ended up with a strange niche on the engraved tiles. A bar owner here wanted to put a border in his bar bathrooms with these pirate skulls. Make 100 of them all the same tile at once. That got a little tedious. But then somebody saw that, or where'd you get those? And yeah, we've done a few of those now. Done some really big runs of engraved tiles so they can use them in bar restrooms.
Yeah, the references are always good, right? But the problem with that reference is the next person's going to want 100 of those too.
Yeah.
I'd much rather have somebody come back to me and say, I saw, this guy's chess set. I want one of those.
But I get the idea behind creating something with a passion. Like I create those flower boxes as memorials. Do I make 1,000 of those? No, but when I make it, I feel like makes you actually feel good, And year after year, I get tagged on Facebook with them putting it up, and it's 5 years old and it still looks the same. But that's different than me printing 2,000 DTF shirts for a company, but it made me a shit ton of money, so I'm doing it. Yeah. So I get both sides of that, you know what I mean? But at the end of the day, I need to do this. I need to pay the bills. So there are going to be projects that are being satisfying, and you're like, that's good.
Yeah.
But I'm not a level in my life where I'm like, I could just kick back and just make a few cool things. Like I need to, if it's occupying my time, taking my time away from my family, it's got to make me money.
So if you want to make the real money, you got to get an OnlyFans page, man.
I know. Turns out they don't like fat Mexican guys. I don't know. I tried.
So Clack has been making stove covers for 3 years. Somebody has to fill me in here. Are stove covers like an American thing?
I don't know. I see them for sale everywhere on Facebook, and I'm like, they're so ugly. They look like some.
I've heard
I don't mean to be rude, but like a hillbilly looking. I don't.
Yeah, but you're gonna make something out of wood and put it on your stove. Like that can't be safe.
Yeah.
You just have to say, just because you don't like it doesn't mean they don't like it. They like it.
Oh yeah, there's always that, right?
Hey, if people are buying them.
I'm not going to judge on the product. I just wanted to know what drives the market for stove covers. Like it's just bizarre.
I mean, I just put stuff on my stove. Like I don't need a cover to put stuff on. Yeah. I just lay it on the stove.
Yeah, I don't get it, but they definitely, for whatever reason, people are selling left and right.
Yeah, I ran into there's a guy local here that has a laser, a bigger laser. I forgot what brand he has, but it's a bigger laser. And I ran into him at the UPS store one day, and he had like a whole cart, like dolly full of these things packaged up already. And he had a sticker on his car, and I said, oh, what are you shipping? And he said, stove covers. And there was like 20 of them he was bringing to the UPS store.
Yeah, that's insane. So we make fun of Clack because he's always a guest in the audience as far as the comments, but he's never actually joined. But I once in a while mention him, and he always pops up, so we always know he's still there.
We have to take a second to say hi to V.
Hello, V.
She thought we were ignoring her, so she said hi again.
We're not ignoring you.
We're not ignoring you.
We're not ignoring you. That's why I did this when I saw your comment and shared it.
Yes. So Clack makes 5 of these a week.
Wow.
And he
For the
still
last
manages
3
to
years.
pump out like 30 videos a week. I don't get
For
it.
the last 3 years. See, that's what I'm saying. So it's even though you think it sucks, it's boring. Sometimes if customers, I mean, yeah, you just gotta like, hey, what if sometimes just pays the bills? Some of us
Yeah.
have to do stuff. Listen to your butts.
Wait, he's pumping these out plus his videos, and didn't I see he just started another YouTube channel as if he needed more to do?
I didn't know he started another YouTube channel. He did?
I thought so. I thought on his one of his last videos about how I got started, he said he was spinning up another channel.
Wow. Yeah, Clack definitely pushes out a lot of volume.
Yeah, I've thought. So you mentioned getting trapped in the review cycle, and I've thought about just creating a separate channel just for reviews, because I got to get projects. Like I got to get back to some projects. I have a bunch of things because people ask for stuff right all the time. Can you do a video on this? And it's like, yeah, I want to. I got a list of about 40 things I got to do in videos. Well, that's not bad money, Clack.
Yeah.
$15,000. We just made fun of $15,000 for some stove covers. I'm gonna have to start making me some.
It's only $15,000. What's the big deal?
But if you think about that, $15,000, that's someone's kid's college tuition. That's that beat up pickup truck that they're tired of driving, that they want a new car. That's the maxed out credit card that they've been making minimum payments on because they have to use it. We all were raised that you don't use that credit card right in an emergency, but the way our economy has been so hard, people have been using it more and more than they have in the past. And this just may be.
Sorry about the 4 posts. I don't know what just happened. Sorry.
No,
Talk about the hard sell.
Yeah.
I swear to God, I did not. I hit one
that
and
for
went flying.
So back to one thing. I think hopefully this will help somebody. Like it's all about aligning your goals. Everybody has different goals. It's about aligning your goals with your action, or aligning your action with your goals, right? Like, and I think so many people just don't know what X is going to lead to. And we don't all know for sure, but like, for example, like if you set a goal of making $15,000 a year and you stumble upon stove covers and that does it for you, you reached your goal, right? To where there's a lot of people that are like they're looking for a product. They don't know how much money they want to make. They don't know where and there's always that exploratory period. But let's always say, like, if you want to make money, you can't treat it like a hobby, right? Like that doesn't equal. I see a lot of people treating like CNC. They get frustrated because they watch one of my videos and where I said you could make $1,500 a month, but their action is a hobbyist. Like they just do it when they want to, and they do it for fun, and that's fine. But your goal can't be to make X amount.
Yeah, that gets back to what your motivation is, right? If your motivation is to make money, then you need to do it full time.
Yeah. No, I have a very large pool in my backyard. My wife tells me all the time, "Hey Rick, you want to come swimming?" And I'm like, "Nah, I'm gonna be in the basement sanding." And she's like, "What do you mean?" I says, "Don't you think I want to be in the damn pool? Like, stop! Don't you think I want to be back here drinking beer? Of course I do. Yeah. Don't say I want to be on my Harley instead. Yeah, but I'm be in the basement standing because exactly what you just said. You gotta put your money where your mouth is.
But if your motivation wasn't to have it become a job, then you need to change, right? If so, for me, officially it wasn't supposed to be a job. It became a job, but it was still fun, so I didn't mind so much. But there are times, like I'm going through this stretch right now where I just got to slog through a bunch of reviews, and they're important because some of them are good budget lasers and things, but I just want to build something and put it on video, right? And anything I build, it's like I turn on a machine, I start a CNC, and I go off and do something while it's working, and I pull it off and hand it to somebody, and it leaves, and I never get the satisfaction, right? So that's that's the reason. That's my motivation for YouTube, is certainly to help people, but also to sate my own creativity, because
so I have to ask the audience. You're hearing all of our motivation. What's your motivation?
Yeah,
that's a good question. Why are you doing the side hustle? Are you doing it because just an outlet? Are you doing it for extra income? What's the reason you're doing it?
Yeah.
The side hustle should be enjoyable.
Yeah, but even if it's a full-time job, it should be enjoyable, right? And
yeah. Well, good litmus test is something I ran into a number of years ago. So I'm deep into another industry, making custom fountain pens, and it was always something. For 10 years, it was just a hobby, a passion project type thing, and I made decent money off of it. And then along comes a guy and says, "Hey, I'll give you X amount of money to make me 400 of them." And at that point, it's like, okay, now it's become a job. I have to have the discipline to get up, spend my 8 hours in the shop, and come in and really, and that's really the kind of the test to see, is this something you want to do for a living, or do you want to maintain this as a side hustle? So, if you want to make a run at it, go out one day and make 100 of the same thing at the end of the day. And
that's the test. Yeah.
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 When you suffer from hyperactive disorder with a touch of obsessive personality, it makes your work ethic
obsessive.
Easy.
Not well, maybe obsessive. Some people I know I do.
There's a reason we're all from here up.
Yeah. I'm gonna slouch down so you just...
let me straight down a little bit.
Yeah.
His other channel is the bodybuilding one.
Yeah, I mean, for some people, certainly, it's a focus too, right? It's just an opportunity to actually get something achieved and feel that sense of accomplishment. Like if you are like an OCD type person, you need that, right? And it's just, I don't. So when somebody comes to me and says, "Hey, can you engrave my company logo on 1,000 watch bands?" It's like, yeah, it's good money, but it's it's not fun.
Yeah, it's the idle hands thing. I mean, you sometimes you just can't sit and do nothing, and so you go do busy work, and whether that's lasers or CNCs or whatever, it's making videos. It's the need to be doing.
Yeah, well, doing things that matter too, right? It's not just I'm busy. It's I'm busy doing something that I can see an outcome for.
Yeah.
So I have a question for the CNCs, because we get this a lot with lasers. And they say, "What's the best laser to buy?" And our first response is, "Well, how much money do you have?" And that's just being honest, right? So realistically, for a CNC,
same question, same answer.
For a CNC, what I'm saying is that what is a budget, an entry level budget that you realistically have to have for a machine that's actually worth purchasing? I mean, I would say you're going to buy a $300 CNC. Don't waste your money, right? But like, what is the range that you think is competitive enough to actually be able to use to make some money with?
I always say $3,000. I think, and that's so most people. A common thing I run into is they just look at the machine itself. But I think you can get up and going, machine, software, some Harbor Freight dust collection, around $3,000.
Nice.
Yeah. Now, depending on your software, 1,000 of that's going to be the software, right?
Right. And see, even then, I mean, you're going to get maybe a 20, I'm trying to think, like around a 20-inch bed, 20 by 20. Yeah. If you want to go up bigger, like a 48 by 48, I know Onefinity is probably a fully loaded Onefinity Elite is
they're several thousand. Yeah. Mine again, Canadian dollars, but mine was about 6,500. So that's about a little over 5,000 US dollars.
Guy Noble said, "I'm developing my CNC and woodworking skills so that the next year I can create things full time."
Cool.
It's
See,
very,
there's a long-term goal. That's
because
we always tell people not to just quit your job, right?
Do not do that. It's a horrible idea.
That's what half the YouTube videos tell you to do. I quit my job and I make 100,000.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah, that's the ultimate clickbait thumbnail. Make $100,000 a year. Sure, you can make
now
$1 million.
I live with my brother because my wife divorced me.
Exactly. Sure, you can do it. You can do anything once.
It doesn't make it a good fucking idea, but you can do it. Creative Southern Side said it's definitely a sense of accomplishment when you can let your creative juices flow and be proud of what you work and put out.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And that is for me too. That's the most satisfying thing when you can point at something and say, "I made that."
Yeah, it's just, don't forget money for the machine and tools too. We use an industry to get some amount of machine into tools.
Yeah, the thing you appreciate with a CNC, and I'm sure Andy, you've already painfully realized this. The machine is one thing, but tool bits are consumable, right? So the tendency will be, and I don't know what your experience, Andy, is on CNC bits, but the tendency is, I'm going to go buy carbide bits off of Amazon, and you use them for about 5 minutes on a good piece of hardwood, and they start leaving hair everywhere because they're dull. You got to spend $70-$80 on a 1/4-inch end mill to make it last for more than
So
Andy,
don't do that until you're going to stop breaking bits in your first 30 seconds.
So I have a pet peeve here, and I've been very close to putting out on a video. I just can't pull the trigger and do it because it's really not in my DNA. But the beginner, right? Like they just bought one of these $3,000 machines, and everybody is pushing coated Amana bits that are $60-$70.
Oh yeah, that's not good for starters.
And they exactly, and they snap it, and then they're like, oh, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
an anecdote from my past. My very first CNC, I turned it on. I had a tool bit in it, and I hit the 0 and bashed it into the workspace and snapped the bit.
Yep.
Very first thing. Yep. First time I powered it on. And
I think that probably happens more often than not.
Yeah. But
I would dare say everybody's had that happen many
let's
times.
Say once you're past the hobby stage, and you're in the side hustle making money stage, you got to spend the money on the bits. But by then, you're not going to screw up very often, right?
Yeah,
you are, but not very often.
So they're asking, a dust collection is a must-have when having a CNC.
Yes.
Yeah. So this is that's Shannon, Genesis Designs. He's I notice him. He's in my community. So,
cool. Are you live on your channel now, Andy?
I am live on my channel.
Nice one.
Yep.
I love watching my laser and CNCs make things. I'm not particularly creative. Oh, looks like we lost Andy.
That's what AI is for.
I was live.
Are you live?
I'm live.
Your channel's probably still live, so you can go watch yourself there.
So listen, I love watching my CNC, my laser and CNC, but I'm not particularly creative. What's your input for this?
I always say that I'm not creative, but then I'll pump out something and someone will go, "Oh, that's really cool." Right. And
my thing is I'm somewhat creative, but I am not artistic.
Yep.
Yes, and that's really my problem. I can't draw a straight line with a ruler.
Well, I mean, I struggle to draw stick people.
Yeah. There's a reason why I've learned how to use things like Fusion 360 because I could never draw that straight with a pencil.
Yeah, but you can buy anything on Etsy nowadays, right? Like if you can buy the actual raw files, someone did all the homework for you. You can kind of sort on what's selling. That would be my advice. Like just getting deep into the art part of it, can be drastic. I have a background in that, so that's kind of an advantage to me. But that's a whole different learning curve, besides woodworking. So if you're not artistic, or maybe that's not even it. Like there's things I'm really good in Photoshop, things like that. But I have my go-to person, someone in California. Her name's V. That she has a full-time team, and when it's something that I'm not saying I'm not capable of doing. I just know it's going to take a lot of my time. I just pay her.
Yeah.
And I don't care. Like, and I just pass that cost along to what's going, to the customer, because my time, whatever she's doing it, I can do something else to make more money. So by buying artwork, I don't think it's necessarily cheating, or even by paying someone to do it for you.
When it's a hobby, the first thing you're going to need to do is learn how to use the tool, right? And you don't need to be even a creative person. All you need to do is load an SVG file, right? That's your total creative effort. And that's a good way to start. But sooner or later, like even, I'll keep bashing on coasters. You can go to Etsy and get coaster designs, and you just load them up and cut them out. But at some point you're going to go, well, I don't like that saying. I want to put my own, Roger puts acidic sayings on some of his stuff, right? I want to do that myself.
They sell
and
well
then
too.
You'll be driven by necessity for the creative side.
Well, it takes being creative to learn creativity, and that sounds kind of counterproductive, but I've seen it. Some people obviously are naturally artistic, but maybe can't bring what they vision in their head to life. Other people are great at bringing to life what other people have a vision of, and the more you exercise that, and the more you experiment with making things, your brain starts to engage different parts of it, and you actually. I think your creativity improves the more you, even just doodling. The more you're doing something, I think the more your creativity, shines over time.
Yeah. Yeah. And sometimes you find out that you actually are creative too, right?
Yeah.
You may never be artistic, but you might still be creative. Yeah, Clack, I like Jenny bits too. That's kind of what I've gravitated to for certainly for like a ball nose bit or end mills.
Andy, they're commenting on your bits. I didn't even know. You have your own brand bits as well?
Yeah, so I sell Andy Bird Builds bits, but a lot of people don't know this, but my manufacturer is Whiteside. Whiteside's a common bit. I don't know if you've all seen it. But Whiteside doesn't sell direct. So you can buy Whiteside bits anywhere. But I sell Whiteside bits, which are my favorite. It's what I use and have used.
Nice. There you go.
But I recommend Jenny bits as well. I know him. I know him well, and he does good work. So
yeah.
Starters best practice cutting into styrofoam or alike.
And cardboard if you're on a laser.
Yeah.
The first things you make with your laser are things that you make out of the box it came in.
They said, "Hey Andy, it's Shannon."
Yep. Minnesota. Shannon's from Minnesota.
Oh. Andy Discord is a treasure trove of knowledge with all the community members. Nice. I never really got into Discord, being honest.
If that's the price of getting 100,000 viewers, I'm doomed.
Hey, actually, would you share it, Andy? Would you share your Discord? Because I'm pretty active on a lot of Discords, and I actually prefer it for a lot of things.
Yeah, for sure. We're almost hit about 700 members.
Wow, good.
Yeah, there's just so much information. It's 3 years old now. And get an invite link here.
Okay. If you're comfortable sharing with the general public, that is.
Yeah. We have moderators in here, so we had someone today in there mimic me, which you just ban them. But
I go back to the old IRC days, so Discord to me feels comfortable. It's just
Andy. Steve is asking, at any point will you have just sales and marketing portion for your course?
Good question. There's no plan for it right now, but it's consideration. Yeah,
I would say that even if you are an active CNC user, the day you think you know everything in your profession is the day you should get a new job. So you could probably still learn some things. I'm highly unlikely you'd go through material and you're going to be like, I knew all of that. There's going to be something.
And you can always, you can join the course and so I went back and forth on this. You go through it in chronological order because it builds on itself. It starts at the very bottom, basic building blocks, just of CNC, and then works its way up, right? But if I've had people too email us, and if they hey, I'm past the beginner stage and I don't want to click through all this, email us and we can just open it all up, and so you have access to that other stuff right away.
Someone said, "What's the best 48 by 48 budget CNC?"
This is an interesting question.
This is like Ford versus Chevy.
Well, it's also if you use the word budget loosely, Because a 48 by 48 CNC is probably not a budget CNC.
I would
like
say
is your Avid's a 48 by 48, right?
it is. Yeah.
Was it a budget? Was it a budget CNC?
No. So, okay, here's my take on this. And I just thought of this off the top of my head because I've never answered this question before. But a budget 48 by 48 is probably the Onefinity. And I say that because my Avid is a 48 by 48 and it's like $12K. So if you're like, if you just looked at like 48 by 48 machines, the Shapeoko 5 Pro and the Onefinity are going to be the cheapest.
Yeah. Do you know if the CNC guys have a 48 by 48? I think
they just came out with the alt mill. You're right. So maybe that's it.
Yeah.
All right, there's a Discord link, guys. Check it out. If you're into Discord, check out Andy's Discord.
Well, that 48 by 40, the alt mills, it's cheaper. It's probably 15-20% cheaper than a Onefinity.
So we have a moderator, and someone doesn't recognize Andy, and they're asking if he's Conrad. No, Conrad didn't get a better camera, and now you can see him better.
Yeah.
Conrad's not on the live tonight.
Conrad's spending his summer testing mead somewhere, judging mead contests. Basically, spending the summer half drunk.
So David says, "Love the inspiration, guys. I have a Shapeoko 4 and using Carbide Create. I'm very familiar with Illustrator, but I do not know if it's worth switching to another piece of software."
If you know it, probably not.
So is there limitations that would be a reason why you would upgrade to another one that would, put your CNC on another level?
Well, the thing is, like, Illustrator is a graphic design tool, right? You then need something to generate tool paths, and those tend to be things like VCarve. I don't know. Do you use VCarve, Andy? No, Avid uses something else, right?
No, I use VCarve.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
So that VCarve will also let you do some authoring of the 3D-ness of the design. And so you can't just use one tool. You're always going to have to use some kind of toolpath generator like VCarve or Easel or whatever.
Am I the only one in this group here that uses Carveco?
So I had a license for Carveco when I bought my Onefinity Elite, and I was already in the deep end of VCarve, so I gave the license to somebody else. And the review that he gave me on it was Carveco can, because I've shown him a lot of stuff you can do in VCarve, but his review was you can do all of that stuff in Carveco a different way, and it's not a nice way for the most part.
No, it's one of the things. I know the software, so
yeah, it's not intuitive.
So I'm feeling guilty sitting over here all this talk about CNCs because I've had this little CNC sitting in a box for 3 months. So maybe this weekend I'll maybe put it together.
Yeah, you got to get it.
You got a little 3018 there? Or?
Yeah.
Well, that's what I learned on. My first one was a generic hand bowl brand 3018 from Amazon. Super cheap. Yeah, no limits.
The only problem if you're just starting out with CNCs and your first one is a 3018, you're probably going to walk away with the thinking of I don't get it. I don't get why anyone would want to use a CNC because they're small. The motors in them are terribly slow and underpowered, and it probably taints a certain group of people when they start.
The only reason I agreed to accept it is because the same token we said with lasers when we were putting our nose up to. We only want 60-watt lasers. We only want these, high-end lasers. So I said, well, I don't really want to, but I agreed to because I thought, you know what, if this is an entry-level laser that someone would consider, I want to go through the pros and cons and say,
However, the onus, once you play with it, and by all means play with it, the onus on you will be to discourage people from buying that and buying something like, if they're going to buy a Genmitsu CNC, then buy something like a Prover XL, rather than the little 3018, because they're really terrible.
So I watched one of Andy's videos today, and it was someone actually leaving a review video of his, and one thing he said was that you openly admitted your faults or like your struggles, right? So you kind of leapfrogged over him and saying, rather than me going through all that, let me learn from somebody else's mistakes and be able to take on. And that's kind of what I was thinking of that. Like you exactly said, I'm not saying this is the ideal. I'm just saying, if you are going to do this and you're committed to doing that, then expect this. And then you're going to grow it.
The thing is, you definitely like look at the 3018, review it if you want, but you have to prepare people, right? You have to say, here's the downside of starting with a $150 CNC, right? When that thing over there is $6,000 or $7,000,
and there's a reason.
Like, there's a difference, right? It's not just you pay more money,
right?
Well, but what I think that'll give you though, the cheap ones is not that they're good, but it'll teach somebody on the cheap the concepts of working in a build envelope access, how to manipulate an automation-based machine. So is it good at making things? No, but for $150, it lets you experiment with like just how to manipulate. And most of us here have that, whether it's in the laser world or the 3D printing world. But if you're somebody just getting into any of that, I could see that there's a little bit of a benefit to that part of it.
Financial benefit for sure.
Yeah.
Right. And it does get you through the concepts of, I have to create a tool path, and here's what a tool path does. And, all of the things I'm sure Andy ran into when he was struggling in his early days, right? We all did. Where you have to say, I drew a line in Illustrator, and somehow that line has to turn into something on a piece of wood.
How do I touch off?
So it will certainly teach you that, but you're going to want to move fairly quickly. But I think there will be people who stop at that point and go, I get it, but I don't understand why anybody would want one of these. And you probably lose, we probably lose about 30% of people just because of their first CNC was a 3018 rather than say a 4040 or something.
Happens in the laser industry.
Yeah. You said if I get a CNC, I would for sure build a garage or get a big shed.
Yeah, I got
the still big won't have enough room. Still won't have enough room.
Yeah, I'm in the middle of doing a bunch of renovation in my workshop to make more room.
I got an 8x16 workspace. That's all I get. I got a canal out this way and a pool that way, so I can't build anywhere.
Yeah, I took about a quarter of my basement. I made it my little wood shop. So nice. That's what I'm working out of. But yeah, so good discussions, just good discussions. And the guys and ladies and gentlemen, that's the point of these questions, live questions, is you have these questions, put them in the comments, let us go through them. And I always say, like, we have hundreds of years experience here, literally, because you start adding up, 15 years, 7 years, all the experience that's put together collectively. That's a lot of knowledge in one room that you may not ever be able to get.
Well, I have 100 years of that knowledge myself. So.
Well, you knew Jesus. You sat behind him in third grade. So
yeah, I helped Noah build the ark. Roger's older than I am, though.
Yeah, I helped Noah write Moses write the tablet.
Yeah, he helped Noah build the plans. FreeCAD and BlenderCam. I've used FreeCAD. FreeCAD is okay. I mean, it's free, which is the best part. By the time I found FreeCAD, I was so invested in Fusion that it's kind of like I never became a touch typist either, because I'd already learned how to type with two fingers, and touch typing became hard. It's the same thing with FreeCAD. I just can't do it. But it's a good tool. It's a good tool.
Original AutoCAD back in college, and it's like, Autodesk Fusion 360. I can jump in. No, it's not the same thing.
No, different concepts. Yeah,
it's so different.
There's also Tinkercad, which is probably better than FreeCAD, just for a newbie to get started. Roger,
The worst part
when I got
owning
into
a
this,
2018
when I got into this, I thought that since I already knew AutoCAD electrical really well, that I'd jump right into this. Well, that was not the case by any means.
Nope. It's like knowing Eagle for electronics. It's like it's not at all the same thing, you know.
Yeah, Eagle is a piece of Fusion that I just refuse to use. KiCad is so much better.
Quick comments. It says the worst part of owning a 3018 or 3040 is the software quickly gets more expensive fast. Fusion is a nice learning tool, but not as VCarve or other softwares.
I wish Aspire was cheaper. I really do.
Yeah, me too, man. I've been holding the buy button on that one.
I know. Aspire and VCarve, I mean, if they'd lower their cost of entry, they'd pick up a whole lot of business.
So Aspire, if you're watching this video, because a lot of these manufacturers do watch this, hey, maybe if you offer like a coupon code for our subscribers, they'd be able to get a discount. That'd be pretty nice. That'd be pretty nice. We're just saying.
Well, in that regard, if anybody from Vectric is watching this, I have no issues with VCarve. It's an awesome tool, but damn it, it was expensive.
All of a sudden, you hear his voice, like where they're like the.
It's like there'd be somebody like clack in the background listening.
Features and give me a light. Give me VCarve light or Aspire light.
Yeah, it's so VCarve. I started with VCarve desktop, whatever the cheap one is, anyway. And it was fine, but then I started getting into, I bought a bigger CNC and all of a sudden 2/3 of it was useless. So I had to upgrade, and that was a big jump. And then now the next hurdle is Aspire, and I look at it and go, it's so tempting because it does some really cool things, but holy crap, it's expensive.
What's expensive? How much is it?
Like
the upgrade from Pro is, I don't know, it's about $2,000 or something.
I think it's 2,000 if like not with the upgrade. I think it's $2,000.
Yeah,
just outright if you have nothing.
Outright, yeah. The upgrade between the two, I'm not sure what.
Keep in mind, I'm working in a third world currency, right? So,
yeah.
Sorry.
So Dave said, my question is it better to use VCarve to create the toolpaths than Carbine create? I import SVGs that I create in Illustrator to create currently.
Well, Carbide is a fine tool too. I mean, it's the one Shapeoko uses, right?
Yeah.
It does the same thing pretty much as VCarve does.
Yeah, if all you're doing is like centerline tracing with a V-bit, I mean, I don't see one necessarily better than the other. They both can get the cam path for you. And
I went from, I started with Shapeoko, and I used Carbide Create. That's what they call it. Carbide Create for 3 years. And it was fine. I only switched when I went to the Avid because I wasn't going to use Carbide Create with my Avid CNC. So now, with that being said, I think the reason...
there it is. That's Aspire. Sorry.
There you go. I think would you guys agree that use VCarve, you get what you pay for in the software market?
Yes. That doesn't mean it shouldn't be cheaper.
Correct. No, I agree. But generally, I think you.
So is there a middle ground?
Looks like you just got someone to sign up for your course. Says, thank you. First time I joined. I'll see you on the next one, Andy. I'll send you a note on an upcoming course. Stoked.
Sweet.
So I mean, honest question: is there a middle ground between the free, the easels and the carbides, and the $2,000 Aspire? I mean, is there something else that's worth looking at that, that?
So
Vectric
has a couple of different layers of application, right? You can start from, what is it, Cut 2D or Carve 3D or something?
Yeah, Cut 2D.
Then there's VCarve Desktop, which is a few $100s. It's not outrageous and it's quite powerful, but once you go over, once you get over 24 by 24, it's not going to work anymore because that's how they limit it. And then you buy Desktop or Pro, which is infinite sized workspace. And
I think it's was it like $700?
Yeah, it goes up pretty dramatically. Now, in fairness, the nice thing about Vectric is you can start from the cheapest product, and when you want to upgrade, you're only paying the difference in the retail price between those two. You're not paying like some crazy hopped up upgrade price. And that's a nice touch. So you can start cheap and you can grow as you go, right? So if your side hustle turns into a full-time business, then you can, hopefully you can afford Aspire. It's for me, it's I look at it and I can afford it, but I look at it and go, oh, that's so much money.
As long as they don't go the Adobe route.
Yeah, well, I don't want to get into the monthly fee for my tools.
At least we're not paying, what is it, CATIA or NX prices for the software we use. I'm not sure what that is.
I'm guessing that's industrial automation stuff, but that's just a wild guess.
Yeah, it sounds like it. Yeah, I don't know.
Claxlax says VCarve Pro has served me well. I don't do much 3D stuff. VCarve Desktop is $349. Pro is $699.
Yeah, it's So here, I think VCarve was $425. So, and Pro was, I don't know, $8 maybe. So I liked Desktop, but when I got a bigger CNC, then I needed Pro. But Pro, there's a big leap from Pro to Aspire. Like, it's not even close. It's not like, oh, we've added 10 new features and it's another $200. It's $2,000, right? Or $1,200 more. But I don't know. Have you played with
and all that stuff? So
yeah, since you're using VCarve, have you played with the new inlay stuff in version 12?
I haven't personally yet.
That is so sweet.
Is it?
Yeah.
Something I wanted.
I did when I did the chessboard. I was using VCarve 11, and they didn't have any of this inlay stuff, so you had to do all kinds of crazy math to make it work. In VCarve 12, you lay down your image that you want to engrave, and it creates. Well, you can create two sheets on your design. One for the plug and one for the socket, and it just generates both of them. Basically, the only thing you have to determine is how deep you want it to be and how much glue space you want underneath the plug, and it just generates it. And it was amazing.
That's neat.
So the old saying, you get what you pay for, right?
Yeah. Now, if Aspire can do that on a whole bunch of other things, then I would consider buying it. But I need a customer that needs some of those features. Like,
Steve,
well, you need an excuse to buy it, right? It's just
What did you use software-wise, Steve, for your chess pieces?
Well, VCarve supports it, right? So what you get is an A-axis, and in VCarve there's another post processor that will map the Y-axis to the A-axis. So it doesn't do a true round thing. It thinks it's engraving something that's flat, but it's rotating it around, and it works pretty well.
Okay.
There was a script that did that for a while.
Yeah, you can. I think it's in Pro.
Okay.
It's certainly in Pro. I think it's in Desktop too.
I said Aspire's too rich for my blood.
Yeah, I feel that pain.
There's a script out there, or there used to be, that would take a flat and wrap cylinder and generate your G code around that too. And I don't remember exactly what it is, but sounds like the same concept.
Yeah, it's like you can actually you tell it that you're using the A-axis, so when you look at it on screen, it looks like the chess piece. But you can actually lay it out flat, and it shows you what it's going to look like if it was a flat piece of wood. And that's how the CNC is looking at it.
So those in the live, let us know where you're actually joining us from. Where are you joining us from? And I used to say United States, but I have to remember we have an international following. We have a lot of UK, Australia, Canada. But
Canada.
Australia and UK has really been growing when you're watching the lives.
That's because it's winter there.
Yeah, actually, I got an email this week. About the Longer B1 Pro from someone from Australia, and said, I didn't catch the live because of the time difference, but I did watch it on the replay. So it was pretty cool. Yeah.
What do we got? Tennessee or Dallas,
Texas,
oh,
Belgium.
Belgium. Cool.
Oh, look at
Are you really from Belgium?
that.
At 3 a.m.
Oh, Nashville, Tennessee.
Nashville.
Another Nashville.
Oh,
Tennessee.
2 people from Nashville. I like the username there, Lost in the Garage. That's how I
that's
feel
a
most
cool
of the
one.
time.
That's a cool one. V's in East Tennessee. Man, Tennessee's in the building
Tennessee.
today.
I'm just north of you all in Kentucky.
New Jersey. I used to live in Jackson, New Jersey.
I went to, when I was working, I had to go to a customer in Kentucky, in Lexington. And the day I arrived, there was some tornado that rolled through town and wiped out my hotel. So I had to find a new place to stay. But as I was landing and you're punching through the clouds, the thing that struck me most was it is the greenest place I've ever seen. Like, it's just crazy green.
Waverly, Iowa, not too far from me.
Yeah, you mentioned that place a couple of weeks ago, didn't you?
Reading, California, Pennsylvania. Oh, Freehold, New Jersey. Yeah, I used to live in Jackson. Yeah, we were practically neighbors.
Got my buddy Todd there from
There you
Creative
go,
Southsider
Lexington,
in
Kentucky.
Buckeye, Arizona.
Yeah,
You know.
it was just, it's a nice little place.
Let's get the Tennessee and Kentucky people together sometime. There you go.
There you go. This sounds like what was the plastic car GM made down in Tennessee? They used to have a big barbecue
Saturn?
for all the Saturn. Yeah, they used to have a big barbecue down there for all the people who own them.
I'm lost in the garage. I like that. That was a cool name. And man, there's a lot of people from Tennessee today.
I know.
A lot of Tennessee following. Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Saturn.
My wife keeps wanting to head out there, actually. Rent some side-by-sides, stay in the cabin, sit in the hot tub. I might do that.
Listen to some country music. Go to Nashville.
There you go. But you what are you thinking? Like the Smoky Mountains, like
Yeah.
Gatlinburg?
Yeah.
Yeah. Tennessee country music.
We took a road trip from Chicago to New York, from New York to Canada, and then back, and we saw all kinds of stuff along the way.
Yeah.
I think it was like, man, I want to say like 46 hours of driving and over, I can't remember how many miles. But yeah.
I got to correct somebody real quick. Sorry, Pierce's Perfect Pieces. Kentucky equals bourbon. Tennessee is whiskey.
Unless you get them all mixed.
That's a whole rabbit hole.
Then they all might start to slur together.
Yeah. I actually live in what they call bourbon country. Like Jim Beam's distillery is like 10 miles away.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So hence the smokers with the CNC?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah.
Wasn't alcohol banned in Kentucky for a long time? But they were always making it there?
It was in Tennessee for a while, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, where Jack Daniels is made, they were dry.
Yeah.
They were dry for a long time.
Yeah. They when I moved down here from Michigan 11 years, 2013. So 11 years ago now, I lived in a dry county.
Oh.
And it's not that way anymore. But there's no bars or anything like that. It's just like restaurants can serve alcohol. But yeah, this county was dry up until probably 8 years ago.
Yeah, we in Illinois used to be like that. It was dry. And I was a kid. You couldn't buy liquor in there at all. And it's finally not that way anymore. But Wheaton's like a real big Christian town. Real big Christian town.
Wow, that's kind of mind-boggling, actually.
My country just went. My country just what? My country just went
county.
He lives in.
I can't even say it. Maybe
Alabama, right?
The county just went wet a couple years ago.
Just the phrasing that he chose is
Let the dyslexic guy read the comments all the time. There you go.
I wasn't laughing at the reading it. I was laughing at the phrasing.
Yeah, that's mind-boggling to me. I live like 2 minutes from the nearest liquor store.
Yeah,
and I live in suburbia, like major wilderness for me.
Nice one.
You got to keep warm up there, though, right?
No, not where I live. So I live right on the coast, right, and
Okay.
it's quite warm here.
All right.
Pierce, I'm not gonna say what's in that.
Yeah, I normally have a couple beers with me. It's normally I think with me and Roger, right? We're doing the toast, but for whatever reason, I forgot my beers. So yeah,
There you go, Saskatchewan.
Saskatchewan.
Drinking was about the only thing people wanted to do.
Yeah, well, yeah, I've been to Saskatchewan. It's a place that's just so unbelievably flat. You can like see your dog run away for about 3 days.
So Steve said something about CarbCo earlier. I would like to really hear his opinion about it.
So I officially don't have an opinion because I gave my license to CarbCo away.
I'm the one that uses CarbCo. And
Yes.
the reason I'm still using it is because that's what I learned on. And I know it. And it works for what I do. So I'll keep it.
Yeah. So Andy, if you want to go to a cold place in Canada, Saskatchewan is the place to go.
I was actually in Canada last month. So I went back up and visited family in Michigan, and we went across the border at Sault Ste. Marie.
Yeah.
This is in Ontario.
Yeah, that's pretty far up there, but
yeah. So there's a Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan, and there's a Sault Ste. Marie, Canada.
Just across the river from each other, right?
Yeah, just across from the Soo Locks, which are really interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lots of Lakers go through there for sure.
Yep.
Yeah, I used to live in Ontario. I lived in Ottawa, the capital, but it's just as cold and miserable.
Yeah, Andy. So Roger and I are in Illinois, so we used to be close to you.
Yeah, my winters are certainly nicer than the Illinois folks.
Oh yeah, it's
like where I live. I
I
live 2 miles from the ocean, right, and it's about 50 miles off coast is the Gulf Stream, so it's pretty warm where I live.
So
Nice.
question says
we won't get snow that stays here until like the middle of January, and then by the middle of February, daffodils are coming up. So
were all of you machinists or engineers before you started your business? I was a lineman.
I was an engineer, software engineer. Well, hardware and software.
I was an electrician and electrical engineer.
I was a turf manager. I grew grass for a living.
Sweet.
I'm IT and
Maybe
software.
you can come and fix my lawn. Rick was complaining about my lawn last week.
You don't
I'm
have
a
a
software
lawn.
guy,
You have
project
clovers.
manager to this day.
I could have counted the blades of grass.
No, you got to understand. When I moved into this house, anything green out there was a weed. Now half the things are actually grass.
Isn't that a cool? Like, I think that's really cool though. That, like, it's technology. It always blows me away. Like CNC technology, and I keep saying 10 years ago, but that 10 years keeps moving. So let's say, definitely 15 years ago, probably 10 years ago ish. Like what we do and what we're able to do, and the ease of what we can do with CNC, like, wasn't possible 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And
it's also cool. It's also cool that all different walks of life, a common passion, right? Like we had said a couple of times in the live, I got an email from a lawyer, and when I saw the email, that right at that time, I kept seeing all these videos pop up on YouTube, influencers being sued. And I was like, oh shit, and it was a lawyer who was watching our live, and he just had questions, and he emailed me from his domain, But exactly, all different full-time gigs, with a common passion.
Yeah.
Yeah. The other thing I appreciate in the 10-year front is 10 years ago, most of what we all do right now wouldn't have been possible.
Yeah.
Like 10 years ago, if you could afford a laser, it was going to be a 5-watt, and it probably would have been several $100s, right?
Yeah.
And Clack mentioned in the comments here when he was testing the Acmer P3, he's got the 10-watt diode laser. I have the 48, so I don't suffer the third world problem that he's got. But like I'm testing a 10-watt laser right now, and I look at it and go, it's a really nice laser, but holy cow, I remember 10 watt. I used to think 10 watts was awesome, and now I look at it and go, hello, power, where are you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got one of those little Sculpt Fun iCube 10 watts over there, and it's like, yeah, it'll engrave great, but you go to cut something and you remember, like, oh yeah, no.
Yeah. Your cutting speed on a 10-watt laser is probably about 3 millimeters a minute.
Yeah, two passes.
You got to think though. To me, those things still have use. And what I mean by that, if you're someone who's doing like that scratch paper you're using, and that's what you want to do.
Well, no, but we've talked about earrings, right? Like people do use a lot of 3 millimeter plywood that's 1/8 inch for most of you folks, but 3 millimeter plywood for cutting out custom earrings, right? And 10-watt laser is perfect for that.
Oh yeah, does it?
And if you want to engrave something on it, ultra high detail.
Yep.
Right. Well, you're seeing these companies now that will sell you a 40-watt laser, and we're going to give you, what is it, a 1.5 watt or something like that?
Reality.
We'll give you a little 1.5 watt with it for engraving.
Yeah, and so you take, I've done the Creality 40 watts, and you take this gigantic laser module off, and you put this thing on that's like a really thick pencil,
a chapstick,
and it's a 1.6 watt laser, but it's got like 0.03 millimeter beam size, right?
Fiber,
like
it's almost
small.
Fiber size, yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy small.
So those are saying they still would like a laser, an entry level laser. In 2 weeks, we will be giving away another laser. This is be our third laser giveaway.
That'll be an Ortur H10 10-watt laser, come fully assembled with a baseboard, layout grid, mounting feet. And if you are in the continental U.S., we'll ship it to you for free. If you win and you are elsewhere, you'll be responsible for the shipping.
Yeah, so when I took that laser apart, I took it apart and like mass taped the screws where they belonged, and like took it just enough to get it in the box, so that they should just be able to go, oh, screw it, you know what I mean?
I'm getting better at, I'm getting better at putting the thing back in the box when I'm done with it, right? Because I don't have room to keep them all set up.
Yeah,
and
we all have a hoarder's corner.
But for the longest time, I'd give lasers to like clubs and stuff, and it's like, do you have the box? Do you have the manual? No, I don't know where any of that stuff is. But I'm getting much better now because I know I'm not going to keep a lot of them for any length of time.
Is that an Oteza V35 with an extension kit?
What, mine? No, it's 3 different lasers up there. Is a Atom Stack, Acmer, and an Algo. It's just I need to start thinning the herd. I got too many sitting on the wall doing nothing, 2 of which I'll probably never use again. So it's like it's time to start thinning the herd a little bit.
Yeah, I need to do the same thing here.
I have my X-Tool D1 Pro 40 watt with extension rails hanging on the wall. Yeah. And it's become just a conversation piece in the shop now. It's like I'll probably never plug it in again.
Well, it's like I've got the P2, but I've got to keep that out in the garage because it's too damn big and heavy to put in my small shop. So it's like if I want to use my CO2, I'll run to the other end of the house, go out in the garage where it's 105 degrees, and run jobs out there. So
yeah. Do you have a chiller for it?
No. It's just it's the closed loop like we were talking about last time. It's, unless I'm going to start cutting up tubing and injecting, an external chiller in it. It does okay. 40 degrees Celsius, but it manages. It's never shut down on me for an overheat. So I'm okay with that.
Yeah. I just wonder if you're shortening the life of the tube substantially.
Probably, but I'll add it to my tubes. I got an Omtech tube sitting up there and a K40 tube sitting up there.
The price you pay for living in Florida, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you can't live in paradise and complain that it's too warm.
Yeah. I'm starting a collection of dead tubes,
Yeah, when I built my 90 watt laser, I bought 2 tubes for it right away.
Yeah, Herb said I have a CNC machine. I'm sorry, I have a CNC machine shop in my garage. Retired at 30 years of medical device development. So
cool.
Again, like I said, all different walks of life.
That's cool. I knew somebody that did medical device stuff like that, and the stuff that they are working on is it's like amazing.
Yeah, it's been a wild ride. I went from knowing nothing to being able to being the night shift manager. Martacam training from the company, and they learned CAD from home. I really love this stuff. Murdercam.
Awesome. That's even better when your employer pays for your education for your side hustle.
There you go. Laser question: what kind of power requirements should someone anticipate for future builds? Power for the laser, power for additional exhaust.
Lasers don't, well, unless you get something really big. Now, if you're talking like a diode laser, just a standard 15 amp outlet will do you just fine. Exhaust, depends what you want to do.
Even a 40-watt laser is only going to draw, like, I don't know, they're probably...
Maybe 5 amps, maybe.
Yeah, it's less than that. It's probably a couple of 100 watts, right? It's not big.
Nice, V.
Of power, of wall power. Yeah, thanks, V.
They actually, I'm looking at this, they don't say.
But we will say that if you're purchasing a laser, most times 20 watt is kind of the sweet spot.
Yeah,
right?
20 to 30 is where you want to be.
Right. I'm saying just, and then 6-inch exhaust is probably nice because you can use PVC or something from water main, pretty cheap from Home Depot. And now that weed is legal everywhere, you can find hydroponics fans and all kinds of cool stuff.
Is it legal where you live? It's legal where I live. That store is only 5 minutes away too.
Yeah, well, I'm saying, not here. Since weed became legal, like all over the place, that type of exhaust and tubing and all that kind of thing to exhaust is like so easy to find now.
Yeah.
You guys are going to ship me some. It's illegal contraband here.
most lasers like that we create, it comes with a length of spiral tubing anyway, right? And you just have to put a hole in the wall and hang it.
They're expanded out. They're only about that long.
No, they're not that bad.
4 feet, maybe.
Yeah, it's probably about 4 feet, but that's you don't really want a really long run anyway because you'll just start to lose draw at that point. Well, the little fan in the box can only push so far, right?
The reason I like the PVC is I get that attachment with the drill for the dryer vent.
Yeah. Oh, to clean
it out. Yeah. If you look in that after a while, it's pretty, man.
The one downside with PVC, I like PVC too, just for the record, but the one downside with PVC is if you ever have a fire up the tube, up the exhaust tube, PVC is really, really not good for you when it's burning.
Yeah. For sure.
What's a little
that may be the least of your problems if you have a fire in there, but
well, you're gonna pass out, and then you're gonna get burned out.
You do want to survive long enough to get out of the building if it's on fire. Well, I mean, the C is chlorine in PVC, right?
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting. I've noticed a couple manufacturers are actually saying, "Oh yeah, you can cut PVC," and I'm like, "No."
Well, you can.
Well, you can't once, but it's not good for you or the machine.
The chlorine that'll corrode every metal part on a laser.
Yeah, it's amazing actually. I've seen pictures of people who were cutting PVC and not for long, and then you see all the even the stainless steel is all pitted inside the laser.
Or even some of the leatherettes or there was a big thing for a while about everybody wanted to do vinyl records, and it's like, no, same problem. It's not good.
The V in PVC is vinyl, right? That's what it is.
But it said PVC only burns with the flame. ABS stays lit once starts.
That's probably true. But ABS generally won't kill you like PVC does. None of it's good for you, but PVC is deadly.
I was a plumber for 7 years, and I've cut and heated a lot of PVC.
Well, but that's melting it, not vaporizing it.
Yeah, cutting it. You're probably cutting it with a saw. Heating it, if you're just melting it, if you're softening it to get it fit into something, that's not the same.
Right.
Because it doesn't. The chlorine doesn't break out of it until it's actually like hot.
I would say if it becomes an issue, it's the least of my issues, right?
If the pipe is on fire, forget it. Get out of the building.
Your problems.
See you later. Got a new laser on the way.
Well, I mean, that's actually a good one for a lot of the new laser people. Is like, hey, go buy yourself a small fire extinguisher to keep in the shop.
You should always have a fire extinguisher.
Or the fire blankets. You can go get these fire blankets on Amazon. You know, you take the fire blanket, toss it over, and reuse it if you need to. But you know, so many times you see people, oh, you know, my laser went up in flames, and you see it just completely.
So I hear people say that, but I've never had a fire on a laser.
So my thing is, I almost think they're lying and they don't want to admit it. Is they turned that laser on and they left. They went
1 millimeter per second, 100% power, and walked away.
So
there's no way in hell they're on Facebook like, I don't know how that happened. The manufacturer should give me my money back. You guys leave your fuel, and it's completely melted. Like, there's no fucking way.
Yeah.
No, but it's cheap insurance to have a fire extinguisher in the shop. I mean, for other reasons.
I've had one fire. It only takes one. No. Yeah. And it was where we were. I was using this. You ever use the like the paper masking? It's almost like masking tape. But you can buy it on Amazon. And I don't have it.
Like the transfer tape, the stuff that's like 12 inches wide.
Yeah, but it wasn't like transfer tape. This was like masking material.
Yeah. It's still called transfer tape.
Okay, so I had that catch on fire. This was actually my wife. I caught it on fire, and we had it in our house, in the office, and she walked out to the kitchen and walked back, and I know she wasn't gone long, and she came back, and the bed and like it didn't catch the whole machine on fire, but we had to put out a fire inside, and what happened is that masking caught on fire.
Yeah, well, it's paper, right?
Yep. So yeah, that's the only thing that we've ever had happen. We didn't have to use a fire extinguisher, but we had to replace some parts to get it working again. It melted the belts off of it.
Wow, that's hot enough.
Yeah, I was doing some 3/4 inch plywood, and it must have hit some filler because it looked like a sparkler all of a sudden.
Oh wow.
Yeah, well,
straight through it, like a hole about that big.
Plywood has a lot of air holes in it, right? Like between the layers, because all the layers in between are like the crappiest wood ever. And if there's a knot, they push the knot out and they just leave a hole there because it's not on the finished surface. And once it hits that hole, it can create a little oven in there. But sometimes they put some weird, it's like plastic wood or something to fill in filler.
It looked like a gold sparkler, and I was like, "What the hell just happened?"
Yeah, some of that stuff.
I pulled it out, and I was like, I ran over to I have one of those shop sinks in the basement, and I just
toss
it in the water. But I saved it too because we actually had a live where we had said that there was a woman who had saw some of my artwork, and she assumed that on top of the wood was paint. And it wasn't paint, it was stain. And then she was trying to rip off my artwork and create it. She financed a piece of equipment and kind of promised her husband she should be able to, make the payments. And she kind of fell on her face and wasn't doing well. And so it was just, so the point of that was that we had brought up our fails, right? Because on YouTube, you have all these successful things like, hey, I'm making thousands of dollars. All my projects turn out great. We had just a live where we all just brought up fails, like and at first he was like, oh yeah, I had this video, I said it was great. All on the floor was like 100 of them that didn't work out.
Well, that's the bin, right? I have beside my CNC, I have a box where I put all of the failed pieces of hardwood. It becomes firewood at some point, and it's just like you look at it and go, I remember that. And I'm going to throw it back in the box. Yeah, you maybe we should have a contest for the worst fail. I don't know, but I mean, I have one here. This is the very first wooden spoon I made. Now the side is busted off, but this hole in the middle wasn't here. What happened was this was the tool bit dropping down, right? Yoink, right through my spoon. I was not happy, but
good idea, V. FR blankets are not expensive. You can buy them on Amazon.
Yeah, they're definitely worth it.
Just with FR blankets, make sure you're not using fabric softener or any kind of crazy thing. Or you can actually remove the chemical that makes it fire resistant. I tried cutting some mahogany. It caught fire, burnt my hand. Getting it to the sink. Have 2 fire extinguishers now. Like you said, it only takes once, right?
Yeah.
Or hopefully it only takes once.
Yeah, I mean these things are so cheap, right? Like you just like if you have a fire extinguisher beside any tool that can possibly cause a fire, you should.
Yeah, we have two down in the shop. One of them's a really big one for in case anything really big should happen. One of them you have to get inspected every year. And then I've got two up here in the loft, and one of them is right on the side of my CO2 laser.
Yeah.
You know, I like this so much. I actually might write it on the box that I put all that.
Some box of learning.
Box
Yeah,
of
that's
learning.
awesome.
I might write that on my box. Box of learning.
I don't know. I've got a big plastic bin from doing some experiments with laser engraving on tempered glass today, which I did finally get to succeed, but I blew up a few pieces of glass and it made a lot of redneck diamonds. I mean, a lot of them.
Crazy.
Here is, I've still got laying on the table here. This is what we made today.
Nice.
Nice. Very cool.
Because somebody asked, I had a viewer ask, well, hey, can you etch, or I want to know if you could engrave on tempered glasses. Well, you won't be able to engrave. You might be able to etch it. And I'd never tried it before, so I'll try that today. So I started out with the settings I would use on regular glass, and the first piece just blew up. So I have little tiny squares everywhere, cleaned that all up and cut our way back down, and this would come out pretty good, and started to cool off, and pow, it blew up. So,
That's one more reason to keep the lid on your laser closed while you're, while you're engraving.
You know what? We had just I take these videos and I create shorts and I use the AI tool to pick 5 key points and it redirects them back to this live to kind of get people to notice our lives and topics. And one of the topics that came up was someone asking Roger how to engrave a live bullet. Right?
Yeah. That was a great one.
Very low power.
My first thing was, why do you want to do that? And the second one, well, at first I said, you mean like just the shell? Oh no, live round. I'm like, why would you want to do that? And no, don't do that.
Well, like I said, you can do anything once.
Yeah, I mean, you've seen that song, "Blinded by the Light."
Just make sure it's pointed. The bullet is pointed away from you.
But the casing too, right? Because they're both going to go in the opposite direction at the same speed.
It's just bad and bad. Not a good idea. Not a good idea.
This wasn't like a little 22 caliber one either. This was something of some pretty good caliber to it.
Yeah. Wow.
Craziness. Well, looks like we got 4 minutes left in the live. So if anybody has any questions, please do go ahead and put them in the comments. If you have not already, please do us a favor and go ahead and smash that like button. Appreciate everyone joining the live. Actually, we call it Happy Hump Day, right? Because a lot of people that are joining our lives is just to maybe not even for a question, just to shoot the shit and just back to the grind tomorrow.
It's all downhill from here.
Yeah. But it's the first 5 days after the weekend are always a struggle, but we'll get through them. Thanks, V. Even if the bullet goes off without the barrel, it's mostly just pops and the casing explodes. Bad and bad.
None of that sounds good to me.
No, I still don't want to be around that.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Well, I'd like to know if there's firsthand experience there.
Yes. How do you know?
Hey, there's a YouTube video idea. I laser engraved a live bullet.
And live.
No.
I thought there was already a YouTube channel, wasn't it? Mythbusters.
So somebody being the Darwin Awards.
Yeah, right.
You'll be the guy with the big hydraulic press. Well, let's do the laser version of that.
Yeah.
The video opens with them like shrapnel wounds.
Let me get my flak jacket on.
Mythbusters.
Oh,
Look, here you go.
There you go.
Mythbusters it. But a 22 to a 50 cal.
Oh, let's go to the extremes. 22 and a 50. Wow. One probably sounds like a little ladyfinger firecracker, and the other's a M80 or
The thing is, if it's a 50, well, even a 22, it's probably going to have a brass casing, which means you're going to have to use a fiber laser. That's going to produce a lot of heat. You can't go gentle with a fiber laser, right? That's just not a thing.
I know the sound of a 50 when it goes off, and I can't imagine. I'm sure it's less when it's not coming out of a barrel, but I just can't imagine that in the shop.
Yeah, no thanks.
No.
Yeah. Oh, I wouldn't do this in a shop. Anybody's shop. This would be like my laser and the shell are across a field somewhere, wrapped in
a remote connection
sandbags.
Clark's looking for something crazy to do, isn't he?
The brass casing is the most dangerous part. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, because it'll throw shrapnel
Hey,
everywhere.
a legal disclaimer: we do not tell anyone to do this at all.
No, don't
do not try this at home.
Matter of fact, I'm telling you not to.
Don't even try it at somebody else's house.
Go watch Mythbusters. Don't do it.
Yeah.
I think this would be a good video, but I'd outsource this one to somebody else.
He has the AI generated version.
Probably worth paying somebody else some money to just get the
I can tell by your head moving. That's not really you, Steve.
Oh man.
Too funny. Well, it looks like we just hit time, guys. I really appreciate the live. I had some good laughs. I'm looking forward to more with both of you. If you'd like to continue, but this was a good time.
Yeah. Anytime you need, happy to join.
Yeah, okay. Thanks for coming out, Carl.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this, Rick. I appreciate you reaching out and inviting me. So,
yeah. All right. Well, thank you everyone joining the live. Make sure to join us next week, and if you haven't already subscribed to all our channels, please do. And remember, 2 weeks we are going to be giving away another laser. So, God bless. Thanks for watching, guys.
I should find one to give away to the Canadians too.
There you go.
I probably have one easily accessible. Probably don't have to go more than 50 feet to get it.
Hey, if you want, we'll connect. I got one for you can give away.
Yeah, I'll see if I can find one to dole out.
So, Andy, do you want to give a selfish plug really quick before you leave? If they wanted to get your course again, how they would get that? Because people were asking.
Yeah, I will drop a link here. /special. Yeah, so if you're interested, you can always send me a message through my website, andybirdbuilds.com, or you can go directly to that link right there, the cncsidehustle.com/special. The special launch that we're doing right now, relaunch, ends on Friday. And you can sign up for my email list and you'll get those emails too in the future. So yeah, if you're interested in we've been seeing great results, and it's a great process to follow, especially if you want to organize your thoughts and have an organized approach to turning your CNC hobby into some cash. So check it out.
There you go, guys. All right. See you guys next week. Thanks for joining.
Okay. See you all next week.
Yep.
See you.
Bye.
See you next week.